Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Costog Questions. I don't know. This is a name in progress.
It's a Q&A session.
Yeah, it's Q&As. Sarah's just like, just call it Q&A.
Just call it Q&A. It's not that hard.
I don't know. Names in progress, so it may change, it might not. I don't know. If you've got like some awesome suggestions for what the name should be, let us know, because I'm down for that. Oh, we've been just talking about food, and chat's been talking about food.
I'm so hungry.
And whoops.
You guys got that Burger King app. You can get a triple stacker for 3 cents for the next 3 minutes. Okay.
Well, as everyone leaves, just
Go to
files straight out.
Goodbye.
So let me get my friggin' notes up so I can actually see what the frick I'm supposed to be talking about. So, like I was saying, this is kind of a soft launch for this. The format is still very much in a work in progress. So things might change, things might not change. We'll see. We'll see how you guys like it. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this, or if you have anything you'd like to see us do on this, because this is a stream that we can be pretty flexible with and kind of do whatever the hell we want with. So just let me know if you have any thoughts on this. So it's just like, oh, it'd be really sweet if you did this, X, Y, and Z. Let me know. Yeah, so right now, the plan is we've kind of picked out a handful of questions beforehand. So the first hour or so of the stream, we're going to spend talking about those questions. And then we'll take a short break, come back after that break, and then we'll take your guys' questions live from the chat. So that's episode 1's game plan. Like I said, might change for the future. We'll see how it goes, see how you guys like it. But for now, that is the plan. Also, as always, we highly encourage audience participation. So, even though while we're deep diving into these conversations, feel free to give your own opinions on there. We'll be keeping an eye on chat and trying to bring in your opinions as well. So yeah. And special thanks for two lovely people showing up for this first episode. We have in the bottom left corner, Aara Lee, and in the bottom right corner, Oki-cospi.
Hey guys.
So Oki-cospi is a cosplayer and photographer. I'm going to put that in there, from Iowa.
Wow, how generous.
And Aara Lee is a cosplayer from. You never told me where you
New
wanted
York.
me to put it. Okay, I was gonna say I asked you where
upstate.
you wanted me to put down for that, but
Upstate, not the city.
Upstate New York, way up there.
Close to
everyone's
basically in
wondering
Canada.
where the cat is now.
Yeah.
So
Oh, Lucy,
Wait,
come
Lucy.
on.
Yo,
Yeah,
get
based in
ready.
Canada. Shout out to my Canadian friends. Come here, Lou. Oh, there you go, honey.
She's a lion, you guys. Look
Oh.
at her! She's a lion! Look at her tail! She's a lion!
Okay.
well, that derailed everything,
My
but that's
fucking
fine.
God. I love animals.
You're gonna have to get your pupper back on there at some point,
Oh,
Allison.
she's so far away.
No, she's not.
She's all the way in my living room.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Well, maybe later. Maybe after the
Puppy.
break. Stick around.
Yes.
We'll promise you puppies later if you stick
No.
around for the entire stream. Do it.
Be engaging in the chat, and then there will be a puppy.
Yeah. Faku says, remove cosplayers and photographers. We just want more cats. Just all cat streams.
Wow, okay. That's cool, I guess.
What a name.
So, yeah, like I was saying before, hope you guys enjoy this format. I think it should be fun. If you want to see anything in the future, let me know. And if you do enjoy this stream, you can always donate or subscribe to keep this thing going. Donations and subscriptions are always appreciated, but by no means necessary. That said, if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, and you probably heard this spiel from me and like a million other streamers by now, but that means that you have one free subscription to give to any streamer of your choice. And why not me? Why not us? Why not all of this? Honestly, just make sure you use it, because otherwise that money goes back to Jeff Bezos. He don't need that money.
I texted my dad. I
Alexandria
was
Lee,
like,
thank you so much for the raid. Oh shit, Stuff Y, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Hell yeah. And I feel like in this format, I can actually address this shit instead of like being in the middle of a critique and we're like, I feel like I don't feel like interrupting like a train of thought for that. Hey Alexandria, how's I assume you were photo editing stream? Hope that went well. Lots of C2E2 photos to go through. Okay, you guys ready to jump into a question? As I still forgot to change the format on OBS where it just says question here. Lol, go me. Okay.
Whatever.
So we're gonna try and dive deep into some of these topics. So this first one is
jump into it.
yeah, let's do it. So this first question is going to address motivation and balance. So basically, how do you stay motivated to work on cosplay between work and everything else in your life? It's going to apply to more than just cosplay. It can be photo editing if you want it to be photo editing, but it's really just about finding that motivation and balance. I know, Aara, you were the one that brought up this specific question that you wanted to dive deep in. So why don't you start us off here?
yeah, I think a lot of motivation and balance just comes from being able to step back and recognize that you can dedicate specific amounts of time to career and work focus as well as life and family. I think that one of the most time-consuming parts of cosplay is social media use. So I myself have turned off notifications for my social media apps, and that way I only get notified when I open them and when I'm sitting down to dedicate time to engaging with people. That also allows my conversation with people to be a little bit more like heartfelt, because I am reading that comment because I want to in that moment. I'm not just day to day like walking to my car and constantly responding to messages. So I guess just monitoring yourself, being able to separate.
That is a freaking awesome idea, because I feel like so much of the time I'll like quick look at my phone and someone responded to this, and then I'll just like quick give like a thank you or something like that.
Yeah, my lock screen became a source of stress for me because it was constantly overwhelmed by lock screen notifications. So just turning those off created a really comfortable and like safe space with my phone, like a healthy relationship, instead of one that felt like a part-time job.
Yeah, I feel like that is addressing something that's far beyond just cosplay and cosplay photography and our generation's unhealthy addiction with cell phones and trying to balance that out. I think that's
So I just started doing that this like a year ago, because I was also getting I wasn't even getting stressed. It was like actually causing anxiety for me seeing all those notifications, because I felt obligated to answer them. So I've also turned all of them off. Like I don't get notifications for anything. Like no Instagram, no Twitter, no Facebook Messenger. The only notifications I get are text messages, which is never, because I don't text message anyone. And it's been a huge stress reliever for me. And you feel like you're not married to this hobby or like tied to it in a weird way, if that makes any sense.
Time to interrupt you all. Hail the Nanator, thank you so much for the sub. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna interrupt when these things happen now. Sorry, Sarah.
That's fine.
I know that certain people that have cosplay or photography or just creation in general as a full-time job, they give themselves a day off from specifically their phone. And so they say Sundays are days where I don't check Twitter, or, Sundays are days where I only talk to family and really close friends. And I think that is good, because if you're using it so frequently, I still think you should give yourself days off as if it is a part-time job in a way.
Yeah, I don't go on social media really on the weekend. I just, I'll browse it, but I won't engage. And I definitely don't post anything on the weekends either, because, I feel like the weekend should be the time for you to just, relax and breathe and just give your brain some time to almost detox from social media overload. So that's another really good piece of advice. Because these are things that I've started doing, but I didn't really think about it as things that were like helping me until you literally just brought it up. So that's pretty.
Yeah. Stars of Cassiopeia said something in a chat that I feel like is good as honestly, streams like these are great for motivation, knowing that there are other talented people working hard and seeing people in the middle of their own processes remind me it's okay to take my time.
Can I go off of that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because something, I mean, Aara, you probably were going to bring this up too, but I think we can touch on, like, because what was the question again? Well, motivation and life balance. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know it's really hard to stay motivated when you have a full-time job. So, like, I have a full-time job. I work 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it, 5 days a week. And so by the time I get home from work, it's like, I don't know, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'm tired as fuck. Let me tell you, like, the last thing I want to do, honestly, is go home to technically work on something else.
Yes.
And my profession is also another creative field, so for me, sometimes it's almost like doing too much creative stuff in one day. Even though cosplay and photography is like an outlet for me to do creative things in a different way, it still can be like very mentally taxing. Sorry, I have like an eyelash. Anyway, something that because I've often struggled in the past of like feeling like I need to stay like relevant in terms of like what I work on and what I cosplay, and I realized like a year and a half ago that that's kind of a stupid thing to feel like I need to do, because like cosplay should be like whatever you want to do and whenever you want to do it. So if I want to cosplay from a series that's 10 years old, I should just do that. Like, I found that a good way to like keep myself motivated is to work on things that I really, really want to work on. So, like, do I want to spend a lot of time and exert a lot of effort into something after work? Like, do I love this series enough that I will be okay, like, putting in an extra time after work to work on it? So I think that's good. Like, trying to focus more on, like, quality over quantity, I guess, has been a big thing that I've tried to shift gears on. It's really hard. I know it is, because you want to cosplay, like, all the newest things and you want to keep up, but sometimes when you have a full-time job, you just can't, and that's okay.
Allison, I
think
feel
with a full-time job. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to bounce off of that and say the full-time job burnout is real. When you get home from work, my favorite thing is to sit on the couch and binge Netflix or play competitive Overwatch and invest all of my mindless hours.
That sounds like hell, but whatever.
It's like an addiction.
So funny.
I have literally 265 unopened. Anyway, and I think that working on cosplay after work, if I don't want to do it, I just quite simply don't. I don't have deadlines that I am pushing myself to meet anymore. I'm not crunching. I'm too old to crunch. And if a con is approaching, then I will invest those hours because I feel like, oh, like that excited buzz, like I get to wear it this upcoming weekend. Woo! Here we go, week-long crunch. But I really don't force myself, and that's really helped me love the hobby more. To replace kind of that, like, those lost opportunities because I'm not working on things all the time, I have been buying costumes more. I figure, I mean, the sacrifice of working full time is that while you don't have a lot of actual time, you do have a little bit more money. So I have been buying a lot of costumes to kind of fill in days at cons and weekends when I don't have a costume I've made. I'm like, that's okay. I have something I bought, and that's really, that makes me feel good.
I think that brings up an important topic of, like, if you are unable to work on something after work just because you're tired or whatever, like, don't view that as, like, a failure type of thing, because I see that a lot from people on the internet. Like, they'll be like, oh my god, like, I wasn't able to finish my costume in time because, like, work got really busy or, like, school got really busy, and it's like, look, if you have, like, real life priorities, like, whether that could literally be anything, like, those take like top priority in my opinion. And if you can't meet a deadline for a convention that's supposed to be fun, you're not failing. Like, don't view it as a failure, even though I feel like the community right now still kind of stresses that you, like, need to do something new for a con and you need to make it from scratch, and, like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, it's not a failure point at all.
Yeah. Your worth isn't measured by your productivity.
What I was gonna say earlier,
Not in a hobby, at least.
is I was gonna bring this back into kind of more motivation focus too, which is to say, Allison, since you are someone who is professionally doing this, I would be interested in what your perspective is in keeping your motivation level up on cosplay.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if you guys know, and I do cosplay full time now. I actually quit my full time job back in October to pursue this. And so I actually had the opposite issues where like I would work 10-hour days, 5 days a week, and I would come home and just want to like do something creative because I was an industrial sewer and I would teach people how to sew at my job. So I'm like, I couldn't make anything, so I always had this itch to make stuff. So with how many hours a week I was working, it was cutting back like my creative time, and I've always been like very much an artist. So like it really hurt me to not have that time. So working that full-time job and hating it was a huge motivation to get to a point where I could do this full-time and just be able to do everything that I wanted. But now because I have so much like creative time, it's not free time. I actually struggle, I think now a lot more to be motivated because I'm just like, oh, well, I've got a closet full of costumes that have been sent to me. I've got stuff that I would like to reshoot. But oh man, I could do it this day, but what if I just do it the next day? And for me, it's a huge struggle staying motivated to just stick to schedule and like just be actually making the content that I personally need to I don't know, support what I'm doing, I guess.
You're freelance now, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of freelance, but it's not because Patreon is my main income now. So for me, it's struggling because I don't really know how other people on Patreon handle this. I'm going at this like completely blind, and I see so many people like, oh, have so much content built up for the next month, right? And then there's me that's just like, it's the middle of the month. I need probably like another thing to shoot for my fans, my supporters that are helping me out. And just like constantly this feeling of being overwhelmed in cosplay now. Because I'm just like, people are expecting so much now of me versus before where like, oh, I was doing Patreon before with my full-time job and like I wasn't relying on it. It was kind of more like, oh, all this money is just for cosplay, but now all this money from Patreon is now supporting my living, my loans, and somehow my cosplay. So yeah, it's like crazy now. And that motivation is like completely flipped, and it's so weird, and it's so difficult to just figure out a schedule and stay and stick to it. So yeah.
I think maybe the moral of the story here is that this isn't necessarily easy on both sides of the spectrum.
No.
And I'd say for those of you who are doing it in a casual way, it helps not to set your expectations like for yourself through the roof, because oftentimes if you do that, you're going to miss that, and that will cause this hobby to be a source of contention for yourself, and that's not what you want from any of your hobbies. I think what I would say is more of set goals but not timelines for the casual sense. I don't have any necessarily sub-upper advice on the professional side.
So I just have like really vague goals for myself, like very broad. I'm like, I'll be like, I want this done between the months of like May and June or something. Like I give myself very weird, like very big timelines, so at least I like have it kind of like in the back of my head. Something I also do if I'm feeling like really overwhelmed, because Allison, I feel like this might help, but maybe not. But like, I know when I'm in con crunch, I get like so scatterbrained, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta sew this, or like I gotta sell this wig, or like I gotta work on this weapon. And I have like 500 things I need to do in like 72 hours. I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what to do. Basically, I come up with like a strategic plan for myself. So, like, literally, I'll have it, like, map it, like, Monday, I gotta do X, Y, and Z, and if I don't complete X, Y, and Z on Monday, then I'm going to be behind. It seems kind of crazy and excessive, but it's definitely helped me in times of when I've like, because I do kind of like lose my motivation when I'm stressed, because you're like, I have so much shit to do and I don't know how to do it.
I have a daily planner, and
Yeah,
I'm looking into that a lot and actually using like Google Calendar a lot more because it's digital, so you can get notifications to your phones,
Yeah.
computers,
It's
everything
great.
like that.
Plan books are really nice because you can color code them. It feels good to physically cross things off. There's satisfaction in that.
Well, there was
I would say that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I think there was like a study a few years ago too that said anything that you are physically writing, typically your brain remembers as more important because you're actually doing the action versus just like texting it in. Like, I forget my text messages all the time.
That's why I have a physical notebook for these things. Like, I write it down.
Yours is so pretty though, Sarah. So
okay, well, whatever. That aside, that doesn't matter. Okay.
Hey, Aara, every time you post like on Instagram stories like how pretty your fucking planner is, I'm just like, get the fuck out of here with this beautiful shit.
Okay, but for real, like, it's a huge flavor for me too. Like, writing a bulleted list for me is like, it somehow just like releases all that stress about nothing, and then to be able to cross it off with a big fat Sharpie is just so satisfying. Like, I'm also like a notebook pen freak, so I'm probably like the 1%, but you know.
Yeah. No, there is
can
something.
I answer a question in chat?
Yeah, go for it, Allison.
Yes.
So I think Bartholina, sorry if I butchered that, asked me if my following grew more after Patreon. No, it didn't. I've kind of maintained the same like pace, I guess, from growing. I mean, the only good thing with Patreon and being able to do that full time now is that I just have more time to make more content, which would attract more people to my Instagram or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got a question that kind of revolves around followers later on that someone sent a message, so we can dive a little bit deeper into that.
I have more to say about motivation.
Go for it.
So I guess we were talking about why cosplay can become overwhelming with a full-time job, given time and finances and all that stuff. But I think that looking at it on the upswing, I have found my motivation again once I am, I guess, reacquainted with a series that I love, or I'm introduced to something new that just completely sweeps me off my feet. So some examples of that, and I know that Con Mom Photography can relate, is Critical Role for me has been huge. Dungeons and Dragons has been huge. It's open-ended. It's freeform. You can just have any kind of fun that you want. That includes costume construction and character creation. So that's been exciting. Similarly is Legend of Zelda. I think that there is so much room for growth when it comes to crafting in Zelda. You can start small with basic tunics. You can make it real big with armor and Breath of the Wild's tier costumes. So Zelda and D&D has been really big for me right now. And I think just finding that niche for yourself can really bring you back in love with the hobby.
I want to touch on that too. I know something for me was that was actually really scary was when I did MIFA. Was that 2 years ago? Oh my god, it was so long ago. It was my first time doing a custom design, and I remember having a lot of anxiety about it because, like, I don't know, like, you obviously deep down you want to be recognized, but it's hard when something is completely redesigned into like a human because, you know, Mifa is a Zora. She's not a human, but my friend designed like a human version for me. But even though there was a lot of like pre-anxiety, like working on it, it ultimately made me realize how much I like custom designs. So that's kind of a niche thing that I've been really into lately is exploring like that facet of costume design and costume making is because it really, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I always get like really mushy when I think about it because really like it was like a turning point for me as a cosplayer was making that for the first time. So I think exploring like different types of costumes to make. So like something I really like, and you guys may have seen this on Twitter, is I mentioned how I really like people nowadays who are putting their own spin on characters and incorporating details that aren't necessarily there. A really good example is this girl. I can't remember her handle, but she needs this beautiful Nurse Joy costume, and Nurse Joyce's design is like very seemingly simple, right?
She embroidered.
She did beautiful custom embroidery, and I just was like, oh my god, like this is so stunning. Like she took something that was so simple but made it her own by incorporating something that's not there. So I think like custom design aside, like you can take your costumes and reinterpret how you want to make them. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something that has really re-inspired me. Also, as someone who's like still not great at making costumes, like that's something that's really kept me motivated. Oh, sorry.
I saw so much positive feedback to mentioning D&D and original design, and I think that just speaks leagues about how the idea of accurate cosplay or trying to fit a mold can be exhausting emotionally and mentally. Mm-hmm. So try freeing yourself. Do like a Pokemon Jijinka, do something Zelda, do something D&D or fantasy. It's really, really freeing.
Just make something up. Like,
yeah.
There's this girl at Katsucon, I don't know what her name is, but I've seen her 2 years in a row now, and she literally just designs her own outfits, and they're so elaborate, but they don't have anything to do with
I know
anything.
I got to...
You know who I'm talking about?
I can't think of her page, but yes.
Me either!
We're just on a roll with remembering handles.
Oh, I don't remember anyone's handles.
I don't remember anyone. Like literally, you could be like, "Hi, I'm Bob," and I'd be like,
I don't remember like half the people that I like. I'm close friends with their handles. I'm like, shit.
Something I do want to say about motivation. So I made one of my more intricate armor builds last year, my Odegarin build for Monster Hunter World, and that was a project that went on for like 4 or 5 months for me, and it was really intimidating, and I never put that much work into armor before, and so I would work on it, stop, and then stop for like maybe 2 weeks. But the way I would get back motivated into it is by playing the game and then opening the game and being like immediately like, oh, I can make that right now. I could totally just do that thing right now. So like just going back and revisiting the material that I'm making from is like a huge motivation for me. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I loved doing the thing.
I also want to touch on something that Aara mentioned. I think you said like diving back into fandoms or something. Yeah. Like, just because a fandom isn't like relevant, whatever the fuck that actually means, like that's okay. Just go. Like if you find a fandom that you really like and you want to make content from it, just do it. Like I know that's got me really motivated personally. Like I got back into basketball anime. Everyone knows that anyway. But truthfully, like that has been like the most like liberating experience for me as a cosplayer. Like the fandom is so welcoming. Like it's sports, but again you can like reinterpret it, and it's just been like really like fun, which I haven't had in a long time in a fandom.
I can kind of secondhand relate to that. So this weekend at C2E2.
You watch sports anime too? Cool.
Yes. No, just relating back to old fandoms and that they can be super rewarding. So my wife at C2E2, she cosplayed as Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo, which is at this point in anime terms old as shit.
This chat doesn't even know. I'm kidding.
She got so much response from at a convention that wasn't an anime con.
Wait, what con?
It was at C2E2.
Oh, C2E2.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised. She probably got the most feedback on a costume that she had in a while, because all these people are like, it's an old show, but it used to be popular way back in the day. Most of these fans are still like going to these things. So there's a lot of people that are fans of these older shows that are like, holy shit, and they freak out more because they've seen these cosplays from a show that they've like, I haven't seen anyone cosplay this in decades or whatever. So that I kind of just jumping off your point there is that can also bring back a lot of love for things, because I know she was kind of feeling a little bit like, I don't want to say she was having bad feelings about cosplay, but she was like, and then like doing that, she was like, it gives you a high. You're just like, oh my god, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Reminds you why you do this.
It kind of goes back to the thing of like, you're like, I'm cosplaying something that's really old. Like, is anyone going to give a shit? Because like I said, whether you say you care or not, we inherently care.
Oh yeah. That's how we dress up.
Yeah, it's like, to say that you don't care is like, you are somehow just not getting into it yourself at all. So like, I can feel her disappointment. I know I felt that way before, but it's like when that person recognizes you, it's so rewarding.
And okay, so honestly, that's one reason why I love Comic Cons so much more than anime conventions, because anime conventions, it's just so saturated with cosplay these days.
Mhm.
And at Comic Cons like C2E2, cosplayers are a huge minority at these places.
I didn't know that was like I didn't realize that was a comic.
C2E2 is like pop culture comic expo. So like while anime conventions have a much more like saturated cosplay scene and everyone's pretty young there, Comic Cons, like I said, cosplayers are the minority. So people are way more excited when they see something they recognize and they want a photo of it, they want a photo of you. So it's a lot more of a rewarding experience that like I personally get cosplaying at Comic Cons versus anime cons.
Agreed. Yeah, David just said, Sonophonos just said it's almost way too competitive at anime.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also, something else that was fun to get motivation back for cosplay is trying something that you don't have to feel like you have to look pretty in or like handsome, right? So I think that sometimes cosplay can be mentally or emotionally draining if you feel like you have to be beautiful or appealing. But I recently cosplayed Midna, and the like going joke with my friends was I was like a goblin, and they would go around and they would be like La Gablina, and they'd like dance around me and stuff.
Oh my
And
god!
so I got to feel like a really
like a gremlin,
like a little gremlin, and I got to be like
God.
not cute. That wasn't my goal. Like I wasn't trying to be pretty or cute or like an anime girl or a video game model. Like I could just be a little goblin, and so.
It's so much
I'm
fun.
not telling you all to cosplay goblins, but
I mean, everyone cosplays not now from Critical Role.
that's I'm definitely that's my
like-
next costume is not the
like
brave.
cosplaying boys. Like you don't have to be pretty
Yeah.
about it. Like it's just like refreshing to just do something that's just not conventionally beautiful. I guess.
Mhm.
It's
That's a really good.
super gnarly. Like I love cosplaying like Skyrim characters or
Yeah.
like really rough and tough like Lara Croft or something, because like
Yes.
there's not a lot of beauty makeup at all, and I get to put on like a bunch of dirt and go like I can soak my hair and
There's
like
still
yeah.
some
roast
freaking
water
fake
and, like,
dirt smudges on my porch.
shit, Andrew. It was worth it, and you know it. But
Yeah. Exactly.
I can
So-
sweat in those costumes, and it's battle damage and weathering, and like I don't have to give nearly as like
No
I don't
fucks
care
given.
as much. It's so much more fun.
Yeah, so definitely try some unconventional costumes out there, whether it's body paint or making yourself filthy, dirty, bloody. Just do it. It's fun.
It is.
Not to say that I'm against talking a ton about cosplaying, but I did want to loop this also back into photography because we had a specific question. Ew, who does photography?
Gross. What a gross hobby.
There was one, I believe, from Maho Maddie, I think, that was kind of asked specifically about motivation in cosplay photography.
I can't keep up with this chat. It's actually too lit for once. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
Yeah,
is.
oh,
chat's
we had a
blowing
really
up.
good chat
but
tonight.
You guys are
Where's
lit. And it's awesome.
Mallow? We need Mallow in here.
And that was she was specifically asking, how do you stay motivated to keep shooting when you feel stagnant or you haven't progressed? Which is something I can relate to pretty strongly.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's sometimes it's really hard to see yourself improve. Even if you are progressing, when you're in it, it can be real hard to see that progression. Because like from every time you shoot, every time you edit, you are learning things, but like it can be such slow steps that it can feel like, oh fuck, I haven't learned anything in so long. But in terms of that specific area, trying to keep motivated, I think the biggest things you can do is, number one, kind of step away from forcing yourself to do a ton of shoots and go to a con, book like 2 shoots and book those shoots to be cosplays that you're like super freaking excited about. For me, it's this C2E2, I booked 2 shoots and I literally was just like, I'm going to go, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to shoot things I'm only if I'm really excited about it. And I thought it really helped my motivation. I was really excited with my photos when I left the con. I was just like, oh, I can't wait to look at these when I'm home, and that helped a lot. I think
So
there's
I can totally relate to that.
yeah, there's like this fear a lot of times when we come to a con where it's just like, oh, there's so many amazing cosplays and I don't want to miss out on shooting all these amazing cosplays. But sometimes that can just be so overwhelming that it kills your motivation and it kind of makes it harder for you. Other thing,
I want to
go
relate
ahead.
this back to cosplay if possible, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes some people have a hard time understanding like when a photographer is having a creative block. Like I think of it as the equivalent of, do I want to edit this for X amount of hours?
Yeah.
No? Okay, then I'm not going to shoot it. It's like the same thing. Like, do I want to work on a costume that I don't give a fuck about?
It's
No.
almost weirder too, because like sometimes when you get home from a con and you shot like for me, I'll come home from like Colossal Con this last year and I think I had like over 2,000 photos taken.
Oh,
Oh my
And-
god, ew. Good
Whoa.
lord.
And there's no way there was never a situation where I'd get 2,000 photos out, but like even saying like I'm gonna pare that down to 1/20th of those photos. Let's say I want to edit 200 photos. That's still a lot of photos, and that's a huge amount of time investment. And it can sometimes be like really painful to force yourself if you're not like really feeling that shoot. I think what can be fun sometimes if this isn't client work and you know it's fun and you're kind of motivation or it's a photo set that isn't paid. Some way that you can kind of help your motivation is watch some videos, some tutorials on different color editing, dodging and burning, and just purely edit in the style of the video that you just watched. Just watch a tutorial and do that exact thing in the video, just so you feel like, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to experiment and to learn a new thing and not worry about like, hey, this photo is one that I've got to be really happy about and like the results are going to be something that is like, oh, this is a quality piece of my work. Instead, just be like, hey, I'm learning and this might look like butt or it might look cool. I don't really know because I'm trying this technique and I don't know how it's going to work out for me. And that's a really helpful way to learn and also can kind of, just it takes the stress out of getting that photo out and helps bring the motivation back into it.
So actually,
Actually,
his username is funny. Bobo do Hobo.
yeah, we all
said,
we know Bobo.
He said, accepting that failures are a part of learning and success is a huge struggle. And I said, and this kind of just like back to what you were just saying. And I said, it is really hard to not be discouraged by failure, especially if you're like doing experimental editing. But I think it took me a long time to get to this point, you guys. So like, don't think I just like was like this naturally. But I see failure as like a really big learning experience. Like I think some of the best times you can learn from something is from failing. So you shouldn't be afraid to fail. So yes, it initially can feel awful. Like I'm not going to say that it doesn't because yes, it does. But I think learned my biggest lessons from failure. I think it's something to keep in mind. I think if you're seeing it as like a weakness, because totally not.
So I'd say let's try and wrap up some final thoughts on this topic. It was funny because we came in with a bunch, and I was like, I had no idea how long we'd take on each topic. And
ramble.
we've gotten so much
right.
longer on this one than I thought we were going to, and I'm like, holy shit! But it's fine. I just didn't know how it was gonna go. But that said, there's other topics I want to go to, and I don't want to stay on this one forever. So if you guys got any final thoughts before we move on to the next topic.
My final thought, I guess, for photography as someone who is not an active cosplay photographer by any means, is maybe take a break and just shoot people that you love. I kind of realized that people that are grateful, that you have just a close relationship with, and you feel like they're family, shoot with them and like pare back on acquaintances and strangers for a little bit. I don't know. That might help with motivation. Yeah.
My final thoughts is to kind of just like loop back to what we were saying earlier about like great content that you're interested in. I know that has saved me a lot when I'm feeling like very creatively challenged. So yeah, like take a step back, figure out fandoms or things that you really, really like and just work on those. Like Andrew touched on how he would focus on something that he's interested in shooting. That's what I did like 2 years ago when I was in a slump. I only shot Overwatch because Overwatch got me out of this slump because I really liked the characters. I really liked the character designs, and that's all I did. All I shot was Overwatch. Like literally, that's all I did. And
That's so funny because that's all I did too, but I only played it.
nice, yo, same though. Yeah, it felt weird because I felt like I was limiting myself, but in actuality, it was helping me like kind of get out of this really horrible like thing that I was going through. So yeah, don't be afraid to like take a step back and focus on what you need to create. Don't worry so much about like what the hell your followers want. Like you are more important, and how you're feeling about the hobby is what you need to focus, not like Karen and Bob and whoever the hell.
Fucking Karen.
God damn it, Karen.
Goddamn Karen. Karen's always ragging on me. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
So what I will say is something I was something I was seeing in the chat when we first brought up this topic is lots of people saying like just crazy, do a bunch of shit and then until you die, like that kind of thing, like just this huge amount of workload and stress and stuff, and that's just what it is. And I'm not saying that isn't like a healthy dose of that isn't fine, but that forever only leads to burnout, and you got to find a healthy relationship with that, because otherwise you just can't keep that going. It's not gonna work. So
it's not healthy either.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah, like
it's so this is, I feel like this is old person comment here, but like, man, stress. They always talk about like how stress is unhealthy and how it has all these crazy side effects. Yeah, it's fucking true. Like stress is like one of the like most unhealthy things you can have in your life. It gives you all these crazy side effects that you literally just don't think are possible until you get old and deal with a lot of stress, and you're like, holy fuck, stress is terrible.
I'm dying.
Yeah, so yeah, stress effects are real.
Like, if your brain is telling you this is probably not a good idea and you're really stressed out, you know what? It's probably not a good idea. So, just saying.
Okay. Allison, any final thoughts on this one?
Photography related, I would say if you're in a slump and you don't know what to do, just try shooting something completely different than what you normally would, and just like force yourself to experiment on different things. So if you shoot a lot of portraiture, maybe just focus on, hey, landscapes, and go shoot like urban stuff or something like that. And then it's just a totally different way you get to start editing like that as well. So you get to experiment there. And then staying on track and motivated with cosplay, try and stick to a schedule as much as possible and set deadlines for yourself if you're bad at that like me. Otherwise, like, take a step back and figure out if like this like crunching over this costume is actually worth it for your sanity, and if it's not, skip it and save it for the next time. There's always a next time.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We went so much harder on that and so much longer than I thought, which was kind of awesome. And now we're going to transition to another topic that is maybe we won't spend as long on, but still has I know has a lot of interesting things to talk about, which is acceptable versus unacceptable types of beauty edits. This was a question that was submitted to us, and I know, Sarah, that was something that you resonated with. So
I get asked this a lot. Like, if there's a question I get, I feel like almost every week from someone, it's this question. Like, no joke. Yes, this is a rough topic. Oh my god, no. So unacceptable versus acceptable. I think it's all depends on who you're talking to. I personally think that it is not acceptable to beauty edit someone to the point where they don't look like themselves in real life. I liquefy every photo that I edit. Every single person. whether it's their clothes. Usually it's just clothes because
Interruption time.
Sometimes. No.
Zalo Moon, thank you so much for that Twitch Prime Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, back. Sorry, keep going.
Okay. What was I saying?
Liquefy clothes.
Liquefy
everyone.
Clothes. Oh yeah, I liquefy everyone. But that's not saying like I think there's like this misconception that you use the liquefy tool to like make someone look better in a
like make them like unrealistically skinny, that kind of shit.
Yeah, like I mean, something that I try to focus on is like I'll liquefy someone's face. Okay, like I've done it. I'm not going to deny that. Like if you see my before and afters, I've clearly done it to people, but you can't tell if I don't show you the before and afters because I like some things I try to do are like sometimes someone's like left eye isn't open all the way because they were like mid blink, but I really like the pose, so I just try to like even out their eyes. Or another good example is because we've touched upon this in our photo critique sometimes is like sometimes like when you want to get someone to smirk but they just can't smirk because it's really hard to do. Yeah, sometimes I'll fake it in Photoshop, like so I'll use the liquefy tool to do that. Sometimes like there's a really like unflattering shadow underneath the chin, like not even a double chin, just the way that the light is hitting it is just kind of weird. So sometimes I'll just kind of like push it up a little bit to kind of like make it look not as like, I don't know, but like weird is probably the best way to put it. Like it just doesn't look right. Like when you look at it, you're like, something's not right here.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like move it a little bit. Another example is like sometimes the way like especially when people who are wearing more skin tight things and are using pleather, sometimes that's not a natural thing, okay? So it's gonna fall kind of weird on our bodies. The folds are gonna be like a little bizarre. So I'll do that. But I don't think it's okay to liquefy you to the point where like you don't look like yourself. And when you meet that person in real life for the first time, you're like, oh, you're so and so? Awkward. I know I've definitely had that experience before.
So I have a kind of philosophy on this. And my philosophy is when you picture someone in your head, that image that you have of them, that's what I'm editing towards. So like when you picture someone in your head, you're not picturing them with, you know, a pimple here with like an awkward like, you know, like if some piece of the fabric's grabbing them in a certain way and it doesn't look right, if you know, their wig is making their head shape look a little odd in the photo, like none of those things are things that you think of when you picture that person in your head. My goal is for that to edit all those things without touching those things that make that person look like that person. Which is to say that's a pretty like vague and kind of philosophical way to look at it, because like, you know, like, well, what does make that person look like that person? And there's no like hard and fast rule on that. There can be some things that I would say yes for on some people and no for on other people, so it's like a little hard to really nail that down, but that's in general how I approach it.
So Seneca actually brought up a really good point. She's being very transparent in chat, and I just say that she says she edits her own and she'll make herself a bit smaller sometimes, and I do the same thing. I've done the same thing, like when I've worked with Andrew, I don't know if I've done it to you, but I know I've done it to Sono Photos a lot. I've asked Mason Hikari, I've asked Elf. Sometimes like the angle that they got me at just like wasn't my best, and I will ask if I can alter myself.
You have asked me.
I have asked you. I can't remember.
Yeah,
whatever, like whatever. But like,
it's fine.
You know, I just unfortunately like the end. We all have our insecurities, and like that's okay. That's like totally human to have those things. But I would like to think I still look like myself in my photos. Maybe I don't. Please tell me. But it's. What am I trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, I just wanted to be transparent that I do the thing. Like as someone who is a cosplayer too, but is also like I do those same edits, but I still try to keep true to myself. Like I still want to look like myself in my photo. I don't want to give this false impression that I'm like taller than 5 feet, because guess what? I'm not. LOL. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that. I just thought it was really cool that Seneca was being really transparent about it, because I think there's this misconception that we don't do that, and we do, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. And say, like, when I'm editing all, one of my like worst, like, the one thing I'm critical of myself is my jawline. Like, I've got a really soft jawline, and Andrew knows this. I tell him, like, he'll message me like, Allison, can I make your jaw sharp? Please do. I got all this baby fat on here. It doesn't look good all the time.
I don't even ask
You still
anymore.
look like
I
me
don't
in
even
your
ask
photos.
anymore.
Right,
I just know.
right. But like, I'll liquefy myself to be a little smaller. I've got like a really big rib cage that sticks out like really oddly, so I'll like make that smaller. But like for me, booty edits like that are fine because I know I still look like me at the end of the day. Because I guess one huge thing that is acceptable for me is that, like Sarah said, I want to still look like me because a huge portion of what I do is I go to conventions and I ask people to come meet me and stuff like that. And I don't want to give off that false impression to people, right? Like I want to be me. But then like at the same time, I guess it's like if you're only online, like you don't do any of that other stuff, like have at it because that's your online persona.
Right.
But I mean, there's two sides to it, but if you're going to conventions and people like want to meet you, why wouldn't you want to look like you and be you? Yes.
Partholon, it says didn't announce my sub. I don't know what happened there, but if you did sub, super appreciate it. Sorry if the stream gods said no, I'm not gonna to show up, but super appreciate it if that is the case. Yeah, no, in general, like I'm pretty much every photo that I work on, I'm gonna do a fair amount of retouching on, and like I'm gonna smooth out people's skin. I am going to,
Remove
alter
our under eye bags as we're dying.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I in general, like a big thing that I do often is like edit people's like necklines or their, but there's the shadow fell and they get unflattering, because let's be real, most people, if you catch someone at the wrong angle, pretty much anyone, they will get some form of a double chin. And
Yeah.
It's impossible to avoid.
and
honestly.
also
like it's almost impossible.
no cosplayer is gonna want to get that photo back and see the double chin and be like, thank God they kept my double chin in. Like no one is ever
No
gonna
one
think
wants
that.
that.
Like that's a huge reason why like I don't post some photographer photos, is because little to no beauty edits, and so like I'm super self-conscious of my dark circles. I have really thin skin here, so I'll get them back. I'm like, wow, that could have been a really great photo if
Yeah.
I didn't look like a zombie.
I also
like,
very much
oh shit.
I want to touch on that after you're done, Andrew.
Okay, I'll be quick on this. I very much have the viewpoint of we are creating, like, yes, it's a person and we want to keep it that person, but we're also creating a character in this scene. Most of the time it's cosplay, we're creating a character. We're not like no one thinks that this is supposed to be a realistic and totally accurate depiction of this person. Like that's not. Why the fuck would we be cosplaying in the beginning if that's what our goal was? We're trying to capture the essence a lot of times of a individual character, and most of the time we're doing this based off of like anime or video games or comic characters whose faces look fucking flawless almost like all of the time. So like, yeah, we're gonna be doing retouching to get towards that, because we're trying to capture these characters and all of their ridiculousness. Go ahead, Sarah.
So something I've heard photographers say is like a defense about why they don't do this, because like Allison, I've had the same problem where I'll get photos back from someone, and I honestly the reason I don't post because one, they haven't edited out like my dark circles, or like I'm having a bad acne day, or like whatever. And then two, I don't feel like I've built a good enough rapport with them yet to ask them for permission to take it out myself. And anyway, so sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times I'll hear say like, oh, but I wanted to, I believe in like natural beauty and like looking, like capturing you on camera. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But like cameras just emphasize your flaws. Like that is no
Yes.
joke. Like they say that in the industry because it's true. And I understand morally, yes, it's kind of going back to how we say we still want to look like ourselves, but we liquefy ourselves. So it seems kind of contradictory, but like at the end of the day, I don't want to look like I haven't slept for a week because I was up until fucking 5 o'clock working on a costume.
Yeah.
So like, just do some basic retouching.
You want the photo to look like the best version of you, not the I'm at a con and I'm dying version of you.
I don't want to look like I'm in finals week of college. Like God. That life is over.
So someone I had talked to recently talked about this, and that said by principle that they don't liquefy. It was actually a response they had on a photo that we had talked about in a critique a couple critiques ago, I think.
Oh, so it's not right now?
No. No, just a while ago. I got a message about this, and like I understand that his choice to not use liquefy on that specific thing, but at the same time, I've always been of the mind, like, to me, every time I hear that, like, oh, I'm not doing this editing, to me, what I hear, the translation is, I'm not doing this edit because I don't want to put the time in to do this edit, and here's my excuse for why. And that's just generally how I think most of the time when I hear someone go like, oh, I don't do liquefy because I don't believe in liquefy, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you just don't want to learn how to do it well, or like you're too lazy to do it on your photos, which whatever, like that's fine. But like almost every time I hear someone say those exact things, whatever kind of editing or retouching, I'm like, that's cool and all, but like, let's be real about your reasons. It's not because you have some like holier than thou reason for not doing it, because chances are that's some bullshit.
Countries actually just brought that up. They said that they've received photos before where the clarity was up so much that it pushes their flaws past what they are in real life.
I've seen
and then
some
they
of those.
said, and then I was like, I always wonder why that happens. But my best guess is that those photographers value the final photo mood and editing more than making the cosplayer look attractive. And I think that just goes back to what you were saying, Andrew. I think they just don't want. It's weird. They will spend all this time setting the mood and color grading and all this crap. They won't spend the time touching up the like. It's. I don't even know how to answer that because I think that's what it is. It's bizarre to me. Like. What I view photography obviously as an art, so I will do everything in my power to make that final piece of art look really good. And if that means I have to fucking use the liquefy tool, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and just to touch on that,
oh yeah, you haven't said anything. Oh my god, we're so
my
rude.
mic was giving me issues. I was just trying to be chill about it. I really value cosmetic retouching, and I know the amount of time that goes into it, so it makes me think so highly of the photographer. I just gained so much respect for them when I recognized that they saw me and said, okay, I'm going to invest my time in fixing a little bit about this person so that she'll be really happy. I've been like sometimes heartbroken seeing a photo or receiving a photo back, and I've had friends that have received photos back that have felt bad about themselves. And it's one thing to send back a photo and a cosplayer is like, like I didn't look my best. Oops, but it's another thing to send back a photo and that makes them like feel actually emotionally bad.
Like, and is that what I actually looked like?
I think that's a problem that goes a little bit deeper than like, oh, I wasn't interested in cosmetic retouching, or oh, I don't know how. It's like, oh, just not having the eye to see a human and just say like, I'm not gonna post like.
Yeah. I
that's
think
an interesting viewpoint.
Like,
yeah. Something I want to bring up because Mallow brought up something interesting is we could be talking about different levels of photography, and I agree. Like, I don't think most people would expect a beginner level cosplayer to be doing these kind of editing and retouching, and I think it's fair to have expectation based on people's skill levels. Like, that's totally fair. And like I said, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with choosing to not go down these routes. It's just being clear about the reasons why you're not going down those routes of retouching.
Because I told her, I was like, we totally could be talking about levels of photographer skills or whatever, but like some photographers have the skill, but they literally just refuse to do it and refuse to learn how to do it.
Or it's time, because like, man, I'm slow as butts because of how I choose to edit and take the time to put the effort into these photos. And some cosplay photographers are not that way, and that's fine. I'm a firm believer that we need both types of cosplay photographers. We need the type that are going to treat it like art and take their time and spend all this time wanting to improve, and we also need the cosplay photographers that are like, it's the day after a con, here are 100 photos that I just put up.
Yeah.
Like, they both have value.
The whole hall con. It's different.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ask someone who focuses on con coverage if I can edit it.
It's
that was just my fault. I did a bad pose. Like, that's on me.
Totally. It's all about. But I just want to clarify, because so much about of this is about context and understanding how the photo is being posted, what what the time span, how the photographer's like approaching it. Like, just to be clear that like we're not. Even though we're going deep into this isn't the expectation level that we have like every single photo should be approached from this exact way.
No, but I think it needs to be understood that I think at the end of the day, a cosplayer wants to look good.
Yeah. I
think
I think the point, my smile lines there. Sorry.
The point I would want to emphasize though is that if you are a hallway, like con hall shot photographer, just kind of mapping the entire convention as it occurs, like that's totally fine. But if you're a photographer that wants your work to be reposted on a cosplayer's profile or social media, and you complain if it's not reposted, but the cosplayer is unhappy with what they look like, I think that's communication that's missing there. There's like a big piece that needs to happen where the cosplayer can say, I love the shot, but I can't post it because I am unhappy with my pose or my lack of cosmetic retouching or something. And then the photographer can say, okay, I'm not misinterpreting your lack of repost as being snobby or rude. I just had I have a little work to do on it. You know what I mean?
That's hard because
that's so hard. I wish we were. I wish we were there as a community, but
that's
frankly
spicy.
We aren't.
I know.
No, but I agree with you. Like that, there needs to be that level of comfort. Like I know if a cosplayer, if I've edited something of them that they don't like and they want me to redo it, I'll do it. I'm not going to be offended if you think what I did is not okay for you, because at the end of the day, I want my clients to be happy. But unfortunately, a lot of photographers aren't like that. I have gotten very rude responses when I've like, can I just like get rid of my double chin? And they get all weird about it. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to ask you ever again.
Yeah. So it's hard because like lots of photographers are pretty protective of our work. Like when someone's like, I don't feel like you did even if a cosplayer isn't meaning it to come across this way, a lot of times what a cosplay photographer will hear is like, I don't think you did a good enough job and I wish you had done a better job. And even though if that is actually totally the case, a lot of times instead of taking that as like a means for us to improve, we'll take it in a defensive nature instead of a learning nature. And that's not great, but it's hard because there's a balance. Because sometimes a cosplayer could come up to you and ask for something and you're just like, no, that's gonna look bad. So like it's this hard balance, and all of this is way more complicated. It's not on a binary scale of like photographer can improve and cosplayer's right or cosplayer's wrong and photographer is right on this. It's usually a pretty sliding scale. So we're learning that this is a very complicated topic. You guys got any final thoughts on this one? I don't want to go.
I'm trying to keep up with the chat.
Yeah, I know, chat.
I'm confused by the chat.
Yeah, chat. You're fucking lit tonight, and it's awesome.
Aara, I don't know if you've had this problem with your midna, but when I cosplayed C2E2 this year, I had a photographer that, because our makeup like meets at our bodysuit basically, and they wouldn't like blur that line to make it look like skin, and like the it wasn't very smooth and everything. And when you're working with a model that has body paint, take that extra time to make sure seams are blended. It means a lot more because we're supposed to be a different skin tone. Wearing a full bodysuit kind of kills that illusion, So you could just take that extra 30 seconds and clone stamp that and or mixer
Too
brush
hard,
that,
just
please.
I completely embraced the fact that I was wearing a bodysuit. In fact, any photos that my boyfriend took of me or that I posted myself that I took, selfies, you name it, I did not touch my bodysuit. I was like, whatever, I'm wearing a bodysuit. I'm not a real goblin. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Holy shit! This whole time.
Damn it!
I will say though that I got to work with hey Mallow. I got to work with Mallory at KatsuCon, and she took the time to cosmetic retouch out, and Sarah did this too. Every single, and I'm gonna drop the F-bomb, every single fucking wrinkle on that bodysuit. I swear to God, that must have taken 5 hours for one photo.
She said 5.
Satisfying. I'm not gonna lie.
It was a really nice edit though.
It was so satisfying.
Worth it.
Wrinkle be gone.
But I did not expect that from anybody else, and I didn't even do it to myself. So that's one of those situations where I was just kind of rolling with it. I was like, yeah, it's a bodysuit costume, so yeah.
Shit, I had a thought that I was gonna say, but it left. Damn it. Crap. Well, maybe I'll think of it later. But for now, unless you guys got any final things you want to add, I think we went into that one.
My closing thought is,
go ahead.
Please don't edit someone to the point where they don't look like themselves. I know Mallow mentioned that they do it in Japan. I just think it is morally just not right. I think that it's setting unreal. We have enough problems in the beauty industry, commercially speaking. So I think kind of following those kinds of standards is just not healthy. We have enough problems in this community as it is. So I personally think it's wrong. I don't think you should do it. I think it's misleading, especially if you have a really big following. Whatever you do, I don't really give it at this point. I can't tell you what to do. I think it's wrong, and I'm not going to do it. So,
I remembered what I was going to say.
I'm not hating on your Japanese cosplayers. I just think it's wrong. I see those Japanese photos. I follow a ton of Japanese cosplay accounts on Twitter, and I see it, and I'm like, yikes. That was literally liquefied to hell and back. That looks fucking
some
weird.
of them you're just
alien.
you don't look like a human being anymore.
Yeah, it's gross. It's
and ending on a positive note, I think that what makes us special are those features that are different, that are striking, that are unique, that are bold and not liquefied or soft or squishy, as in skin that's over touched. Just things that you learn to embrace about yourself, embrace your nose, embrace your jaw, embrace your freckles, just everything, slowly over time. And I think that kind of easing off of the cosmetic retouching does help that.
Something I'd want to bring up is feelings just based off of Sarah's thought on making you not look like you. I think there is a point there. If you're trying to make yourself explicitly not look like you, you're doing some sort of demon character or something where the goal is to go far away from human look, I think that's fine. I think it's when it's more of trying to represent you as that character when it can be taken too far. But the thing that I was going to say was that I think the goal with a lot of this, or the way that we can solve a lot of this problem, is just if we take the time to communicate. Cosplayers communicate with your photographers communicate with cosplayers. The biggest thing, and I ask this a lot of times when I shoot, is before I start shooting, I ask the cosplayers hey, what would you like changed here? Is there anything that you're looking for? And just keeping that open line of communication is so helpful. As almost it always is, most of these problems can be fixed and approached by just communicating better.
Yeah, I know I do that in my stand-ups. I'm kind of is there anything that you are insecure about? so I know like how to shoot you at the shoot during our session, and then I know what to look out for when I'm editing.
Okay. I think that wraps up that topic for us. So we are going to take a short break, as everyone loves to call it, the poop break. We'll be back. And when we come back, we are going to do more Q&A, but with chat questions. So these are questions that we got beforehand, but now we're gonna switch to questions that we're gonna take from chat. Hopefully, it's not gonna go. Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully it's not gonna be so fast that we're just gonna be like, shit, can't follow any of this. Oh damn. But hopefully it works. So think about what you'd want to ask. We will be back in about 5 minutes, and we'll see you guys soon. And we're back, and we've gained one adorable member. Oh my god. I'm just waiting for chat to just frickin' melt.
Hello. I love her.
She's so great. I love how she's just like,
So
whatever,
cute.
Allison. Sure.
Hi, this is Mochi.
Isn't she the best? I haven't even met her. She's the best.
I just love she's just so
I'm actually
tired.
crying.
She's very tired. She was at my parents' farm today, so she was running around with all the other.
Hello, did you have fun running around with cows? I'm just kidding.
Is she gonna sleep like that?
She's just like,
no.
Oh my god.
I feel like she looks like, I'm not okay with this, but I'm too tired to do anything about it.
She doesn't. Yeah, she's
Too
kind
tired
of
to give a
brat.
fuck.
You have a tick on you? I'll have to check that later.
Shouldn't you be checking that now?
Well, I checked her earlier and I got one off for it. But I think it might just be a mat. Where'd it go?
Well, we should just talk about dogs all day.
They want to know
what
her
the-
breed.
She's a Samoyed.
Yeah, you guessed right.
Ugh.
I love
her.
Samoyeds. I know a lot of dogs.
I said she is the face of a literal angel. Like if
She's
God came to Earth, he would come in the shape of a Samoyed.
Oh my god, look at her. She's sleeping. Oh.
Well,
All right,
if
I'm gonna go hand her off so she can
No,
go.
come back.
Sarah's just like, we don't need to do the rest of the stream. We just need to go.
No, come back. I love you.
Okay. Well,
Oh my god, no, come back.
Goodbye, sweet baby.
No, baby. Bye.
bye.
Stream over. Bye.
Okay, that was the end of the stream. We've peaked. We've peaked. This is the best that the stream will be at. So like, sorry guys. It's like Sarah's just crying now, like head down. All right, let's questions. You have questions. We have answers. This is like it's Radio Shack, but no.
I love dogs, you guys. You haven't seen my final until you've seen me actually physically interact with it.
I just love it because like I was in the other room and I knew the dog came on because I heard Sarah just screech. It was just like I can't go that high pitched. I physically can't.
Oh my god, so cute.
So, questions. You guys have questions?
I love dogs.
That's not a question, Sarah.
Dogs are the best.
They save lives, literally.
I was just telling Sarah the only tea that ever got me heated in this community had to do with dogs. I was like, okay,
have
if
to do
anything
with
gets
tea
me
and dogs.
Literal tea.
Anything
Literal tea and dogs.
literally bring me to murder, it is that I want to protect animals at all costs. And I love them.
Animals are great. Leave them the fuck
They're
alone.
pure.
Goodbye.
Oh man, I totally realized that the crop got real weirded out on
The
stream.
crop got all fucked up. It's
Why
fine.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Why did that happen? Stream. Why did that? It wasn't like that before, was it? Am I crazy?
Do I
No,
get to
it
be someone
wasn't.
else? No, it wasn't.
Oh, I know why it happened. Okay, hold on. I can fix this. I think.
Do it. You're gonna break it.
Loop.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry. I have a video overlaying it, and if I don't have like I forgot to set it to loop, so it just the video ended and it screwed up my crop. Okay, we got some questions here from Crimshade89 asks, how do you pick your next project if there's anything that guides that? I feel like this is more for the cosplayers than photographers, but
Okay, so I get into something and then I'm obsessed and then I'm like, hey, time to cosplay it. No, but like typically I like discovered I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons and Critical Role, and I was like, okay, how am I supposed to express myself? And I'm freaking out. And then you pick a character and you're like, this is within my price range. This is within the realm of possibility, and yeah. That's how I pick my next project.
I feel like I've noticed recently that it kind of just comes to me naturally. Like I won't be trying to figure out what my next project is.
Yeah.
I'll just literally be like one day at work, I was like, oh, I want to do this. Like it was just a completely random thought. Like kind of like the subreddit like shower thoughts. Like it was just completely random because I think because I've been burnt out like a lot recently that I try not to force myself to come up with a new project.
Mhm.
I'll just let it naturally come to me. That's probably not very normal, but recently that's what I've been doing.
Like I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I marathon it.
I want to be
From
Toph.
start to
I
finish,
love Toph.
right?
Oh my god, let's do it.
And I said to myself,
Oh my god.
how do I express my love?
Who
Well-
wants to be Zuko?
Right? I'm trying to convince Move to be Zuko. But
Well, tell him he needs to. He has
yeah, typically it's something that I watch and I obsess over for a while, and I just decide, this is it. This has got to happen.
I have to really, really like it though. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
if I am not emotionally attached to some component of the show, I will not waste any kind of time cosplaying.
Yeah, it has to
I'm
be
old.
like it has to be an excellent game or an excellent anime. I can't just be doing the I don't know. What are they called when anime is like trendy for a month and then it's gone?
Oh, is there a term for that?
that's they call that anime.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah, seriously. So
No.
I actually have the total like opposite experience as you guys. So I have a lot of passion projects where I'm like, oh my god, yes, I love this character from this series. Like Avatar is one of those.
Good
But
to know.
a lot of Avatar is my shit, man.
I have no fucking idea.
A lot of my costumes that I do are typically like suggestions from like my really close group of friends, or like if my cosplay community friends need someone for a group, or maybe they suggest something, kind of more stuff like that. And sometimes like it's things that will challenge me as an armor builder, a seamstress, etc. Like things that, oh, I should really learn how to bead, or oh, I should really, I guess, finally make an actual wearable set of armor. So I find something that's like typically eye-catching and then poses a bit of a challenge, but then also elements that I'm comfortable with. Yeah, so like quiet, I guess. I'm gonna sound like a fake nerd, but I briefly played Metal Gear because I have a friend that is incredibly obsessed with Metal Gear, and he's always told me, Allison, you should really do quiet. You'd make a great quiet. I'm like, yeah, it'd be pretty simple to put together, and then like it challenges me to be confident about my body and make me have like a workout goal. So it challenges me as a person. So that's kind of how I pick my costumes typically.
So, as a cosplay photographer, generally, how I'm doing it is I'm like, what cool cosplays are my friends doing? Or usually, like on the outlook of like, okay, who's bringing what to cons? I feel like I don't have that all that much control over what my next projects are going to be. It usually is just dependent on like who's picking to cosplay what. Very rarely do I feel like I get to be in a lot of like planning and creative control on a shoot. So like I just kind of go with the flow for the most part.
I kind of want to touch on what Allison was talking about earlier, only because like, oh my god, I don't know how to say this. Alenethil.
Alenethil,
said-
I believe.
Yeah, they said I hadn't finished The Witcher 3 when I first cosplayed Ciri. So back in the day, like I feel like when cosplay was still pretty like new, not new, but like not
underground.
as commercial as it. Yeah, sure, not as commercial as it is now. It was like a big taboo to like cosplay from something that you didn't play or you didn't watch or like whatever. I think that's bullshit. Like I think people forget that sometimes like that not sometimes that cosplay ultimately is also a craft. Like it is a piece of art at the end of the day. And if you are just legitimately interested in the art of something or the design, do it. Like I forgot who I was talking to, but I was talking to a cosplayer who said, I literally cosplay things because I like the design. They would be like, I've never seen a single episode of this anime or I've never played this game, but like I love the design of this character so much that I want to make it. Like I want to learn how to make that thing.
And that's a lot of that's a lot of photographers too. A lot of times I'm just shooting things because I'm like, hey man, that looks freaking cool. I want to shoot it. I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
I'm like, that's cool armor. I don't know what you're from.
Like
but...
that C2E2 Cowboy Crunchy is if she's still in chat. I was just like, holy shit, that's amazing. I have to shoot it. I have no idea what it is. It's incredible though.
Oh, it's from some Korean like mobile game or something.
I would not change my opinion either way.
Me neither. I was like, this is cool as fuck.
It's ultimately a social hobby too. So if you're doing a costume because your friends want you to join their group or because you want to be a part of that fandom or community, I think that's fair, and it'll probably pull you into watching or playing the thing eventually. But joining friends for group cosplays is another reason why people might cosplay a character they're unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
I know I've done that before. So
yeah, me too.
Whatever.
And it was typically like a really easy cosplay for something classic, like Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. I maybe saw episodes when I was younger, but haven't marathoned it necessarily. And they were like, "Please, you're the only one." And I was like,
It'd be great
for a shoot. I did it for a shoot.
I'll do
it. Yeah.
Have you guys ever been like nerd checked? I went to the Bristol Renaissance Fair over the summer, and I wore my old costume from Skyrim, and this guy just started like, they're like, oh wow, cool, they're really nice and upfront about your costume right away, and then started asking like what blessing he should give me. And honestly, in Skyrim, when I first came out and I got it, the way I played, I'm too terrified to do side quests and defeat dragons and get mugged by Khajiit on the road to places. So I would just ride my horse around, and he just went off on me about how I shouldn't be playing from Skyrim if I don't know anything. Like, I just enjoyed the game a different way, bro. Like,
fuck.
I don't know what you want from me.
Like, stop trying to validate like my reason for doing something. Shut the fuck up.
Off.
Yeah, seriously. I've gotten to legit argument, and I'm just like, dude, why am I even wasting 30 seconds of my life talking?
Yeah, all those people want is to feel superior, which is like fucking dumb.
Over a fucking nerdy
like,
hobby.
Why?
Get over
Stop
yourself.
it,
Oh
you
my
fucking
God.
dick.
Bigger problems in this world. Anyway.
Let's go on to another
I don't even
question.
know if we really answered that question, but
I don't know if we did either, but
we did.
Yeah, okay, sure. We nailed it. We nailed it. We did great. Awesome. Go. We did
a good job.
I've been copying all of the questions that I see down into a Word document, so hopefully
okay, good.
You did a good job.
I know, I'm trying. So the next question is from Djog, if I pronounced that right, which is how do you start in cosplay photography and build a starting portfolio? I feel like there's a fairly clear and easy path towards this, and it starts with doing hallway shots, which is not the most glamorous, and there's more people doing it ever. That's how I started as well. I feel a fair amount of cosplay photographers.
Andrew and I met.
Yeah.
Wait, that's how Aara and I met.
Yeah, you were telling me about that story.
We're not going to talk about that.
No, it was cute. Oh my God, I'm not ashamed of our old cosplay. That's so cute.
Awful. Oh my God. Ew.
But yeah, no, it's hallway photos are a great way to get into things. It's a great way to meet a lot of different cosplayers really quickly, and you get to like, it's kind of like this slow step of like, you start off with, okay, I'm gonna just go and take a bunch of pictures at a con, and then you go, okay, well, I'm gonna try and like, instead of just taking a bunch of pictures, I'm gonna try and find some cosplayers that I really like, and then maybe, like, you know, ask them to step aside for like 30 seconds and try and get a slightly better photo. And then you ask those people like if they've got a minute or two to spare to do this, and kind of progresses. And then you're gonna find out who you like shooting with and who you like working with. Most of people, like, once you reach a certain point, like when I go to cons, 90% of the people that I work with, maybe not quite 90, but a majority of the people that I work with are people that I've met before or have some sort of communication with before this. But like, you build a lot of those connections via just shooting people hallway shots and kind of growing from there. And if those people like your work, chances are they're going to want to contact you again, and then you shoot with them again. And it's a slow way to build a portfolio and kind of build yourself up, but it's a successful way to do it, I think.
I mean, that's how I did it. I would do not a lot of haul shots, because I was trying to because I also would like to take time to edit them, because like I think sometimes haul shots are like quick and easy edits, but I knew that I wanted to build more of like a business out of it when I was first starting, because I needed to buy a better camera. So I spent more time putting in effort into editing the haul shot. So like, even though it was a haul shot, I still wanted to treat it like it was a private shoot. That makes any sense?
Yeah,
like,
I think
editing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also had business cards at the time, so every time I shot someone, I would give them a business card. Like, be like, here.
I feel like
God that maybe
I feel like that
2%
happens less now than it used to.
Business cards?
Yeah.
No, so I think it still happens a lot. Or at least it happened a lot to me at CTV too. I was getting business cards a lot, but I think something, which is a good point, make your business cards stand out. I get like a lot that are just like really plain and boring, and it just, like, when I get it, I'm just like, I don't really know if this person's like photo of me is really going to be that good, depending on their business card. I guess, I mean, maybe that's really shallow, but like,
no, it's not.
That's like how, I mean, that's kind of like an interview, I guess, for me, right? To see if I want to like work with that person again.
Well, think about your business card is essentially a small advertisement.
Yeah.
You need to sell yourself with that business card. And if your business card is just text, but you're a photographer, what is going to give me any motivation to go look at your work? No. Yeah. So
it's like, the more flashy of a business card and the more professional it looks, or like shows like a good image, the more likely I am to actually pick that business card back up again and look for you on your social media, versus like something that's just like an all white or black, really cringy cursive text on the business card, right? And like just an email and not any social media account. I will not respond to anything like that.
Let me give kind of an adjacent tip that has been incredibly successful for me is, if you want your business cards to stand out, make them also magnets.
Oh my God, Vontog, your magnet is on our fridge.
Same.
Yeah, big time.
I'm on so many people's fridges, and it's the best.
Yeah, really, you're like one of the few magnets we have.
People keep magnets. They're just like, oh, hell yeah, I can use another magnet. This can go on my fridge. And people will put it on their fridge, and it was like, it's just like so rewarding too to hear people. And if you want people to like remember who the hell you are and like actually remember to check your photos, if you hand them a magnet, they're gonna be
useful.
Oh, this has a use. I have a use. I have a reason to keep this. And then if they put it up on their fridge, almost certainly they're going to check your page. Like, they're not going to take it and put it up on their fridge and not check your page. Like, what? That would be... Right. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it sounds very unlikely.
But bringing it back to the topic, I started cosplay photography a bit different than Sarah
Magnet bless going on in the chat. Hell yes.
But if you have... if you're a photographer and you already have, like, friends that are cosplayers, reach out to them and like work a lot with them, and like they they will help you advance a lot. A photographer, FX Standy, started his cosplay photography this way too, and it gives you, I guess, I don't know, what's an advantage when shooting, because then you're suddenly like you're seeing more from the cosplayer's perspective when you're shooting, and that's something that other photographers might not do. So if you have those people at your resources, like at your disposal, use them, because they're going to be dire in building your portfolio. And then they're more likely to share your work if it's good, and then you're going to probably get more people wanting to work with you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You guys got any other thoughts on this one, or should we move on to the next question that I saw? You guys can keep bringing the question. I feel like I haven't seen one in a little bit. I've got a couple yet though, and we have more that we can. Go ahead.
I liked, this kind of goes off of what we were talking about, but I liked Bear Buffalo Photo's concerns about being
that was actually
male
my
photographer.
next one.
I think that it goes off.
Yeah, I'll read it. I'll read his post because I have it full here. With the onslaught of creep/harassing male photographers being called out now, which they should be, as a male photographer who wants to work with new people, what's the best way to approach a cosplayer you've never worked with before to get past that initial guard a lot of cosplayers have now with new photographers, which they absolutely should. These are all his comments. People know my name. They know Bear Buffalo. They know Bear Photo Buffalo, but not my face. So I just look like a big dude with a camera who awkwardly tries to introduce myself.
Well, that just means you need to show who you are.
Yeah.
Like on your social media. Like I get that you're photographing cosplayers, but like I know when I was just starting to contact new photographers like 5 years ago or something, like I forgot who I was working with. I was working with 11th Photograph. He doesn't live here anymore. He lives in Japan now. But he literally was like, I'm wearing a black hoodie and I have a white camera bag. I'm like, wow, that's literally fucking everyone at the goddamn convention. That's not helpful. And I think I've noticed photographers more nowadays are showing what they look like. So in terms of like being recognized, just like make sure your profile photo is a picture of you. Like that helps a lot.
And for the record, Bear or Buffalo, I don't know what your nickname would be. When you reached out to me about shooting, it was actually like a really great move. You first asked about shooting, and admittedly, I kind of glossed over the message because I didn't know you, and I was like, yeah, like a little wary. But then you said, I know that and you were just really candid and genuine, and you said, I know that I am a stranger and you have not met me, so I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I am friends with, Sarah, and you linked SM Zelda Rules, who I've hung out with in person.
Oh, I was like, I don't know who this person is.
Yeah, SM Zelda Rules. And you said I'm friends with her, and I shot with her. If you wanted to chat with her and stuff, I'd love to work together in the future. And I was like, hey, you provided me with references of my own friends. That's really cool. And
that's smart.
That is a good habit to keep up.
That's really good.
Yeah, being really, really forward right off the bat helps.
Yeah, I think also it helps when you like if you're messaging people up front, one, you have to like have a solid portfolio, because if you're messaging people and people try to look you up and they don't they see maybe like a couple photos or something like that, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're posting, like, you have to have a large portfolio so people can know, like, oh, this person's worked with a bunch of cosplayers, and then they can try and maybe see who you've worked with before and contact them and that kind of stuff. But like, if you don't have that, that's a huge red flag. So make sure that you have an easy way to see a lot of your photos. If you're gonna approach people like you said you did, or Aara said you did, is kind of approaching it head on, I think is good. Like what I always say is, like, I tell a cosplayer, like, hey, I recommend that you bring a friend along, because it's, we've never worked with each other before, and I want to make sure that you feel comfortable and safe in this environment. And just approaching it like knowing, like, hey, I know I'm not a creep, but you don't know I'm not a creep. So I want to do everything in my power to make sure that you're in a situation where you're not worried about whether I am a creep or not.
I think another really, this just goes across the board for all interactions, introducing yourself not just to the cosplayer, but to the people they're with.
Yeah.
Some of the best interactions I've had have been with especially male photographers that have said, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. And I said, hey, I'm Aara. And then they said, oh, and you are? And they turned to my boyfriend, who is always with me. And he said, and my boyfriend said, hey, I'm Smooth. And they're like, oh, nice to meet you. And then he was like, yeah, I'm Aara's boyfriend. And we all chatted. And then it
Yes.
became like this really nice shared
100%.
friendship building experience, and not just an exclusive one-on-one interaction. So
Yeah,
that's how you make friends too.
When you disregard the significant other or even handler of the cosplayer,
that they're with, like, come on, man.
that
Not cool.
it just feels like if all you're doing is trying to grab someone for a hallway shot, then cool, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. But if you're asking someone to come and shoot with you for more than like 5 minutes, like, not only does it give off creepy vibes, it feels just dickish. Like
I was gonna say it, but
yeah, you feel like, wow, you're only here to get a photo of me. You don't really care.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're just
That's
like,
what I feel like.
and
I'm like, you don't care. Literally don't care.
yeah.
Don't treat your models like cattle. That you're just like
Yeah.
trotting along. Definitely be upfront and just say, hey, it's kind of crowded here. Would you, and eye contact with friends, mind going over to the bushes or the hallway to grab what I would
Bushes.
Come
a
to the
better
bushes
shot.
with me.
I'm thinking of
Yes.
costume. The bushes outside.
yes.
Oh my god.
Dead.
Okay, well, don't say it like I just said it, apparently.
You're so cute, but the way you said that was so creepy.
I am so creepy. I'm so glad I don't. Oh, I don't even know. Don't touch me at cons, apparently.
Oh my god.
Take you to the bushes.
I want to take this from a different perspective, though, since we're talking about creepy male photographers. I thought I saw someone mention. I'm not even gonna say that. Fuck it. But like as a cosplayer, don't be afraid to ask other people that you trust, that you 100% trust in the community, about that person.
Yeah.
Like, don't think that you're being gross and slimy and gossipy about it. Like, your safety is what's important. And if you have red flags, like, ask someone. I've had people ask me about photographers, like, a lot, and that's fine. And don't feel like you're bothering a photographer by asking.
No.
So,
Ask.
It's unfortunate that it's come to that, but you have to. Like, this is just like common sense safety.
Mm-hmm.
Aware.
Another thing that's kind of adjacent to that, and something that I want to bring up that's mildly uncomfortable, but I think is very helpful.
I love discomfort. Helpful. Bring it on.
I have an uncomfortable thing to bring up too.
Is in terms of like etiquette at conventions for photographers, is when you see people doing shit that is like we know is against the etiquette of cosplay and cosplay photography, call it out, talk to that person, bring it up, and because a lot of times they don't know, like, and some creepy people, they're not trying to be creepy, they're just like awkward, and if you help tell them that they're being essentially awkward, it helps. Like,
could you share?
Yeah, so for my example, so like at C2E2, I was thinking this explicitly because this scenario happened to me. I was watching, oh man, Kaze Mike with a raid of 4 people. Hell yeah!
Aww,
hi Miku.
hey.
Oh my god, cat raid.
Go back to edit. Don't you have a backlog?
Don't you have edits to be doing?
That's not Danny's face. There's Danny emoji.
Does he have Danny emoji? I think that was
I thought
that was the Hunger Service, but
no, because he subscribed to the Hunger Service.
Okay, well that would be it, because I'm like
Hey,
I'm
there
Oh my god, there it is!
There it is.
All right. Back on track.
Okay, as we derail. I'm sorry. So at C2E2, I saw a cosplay photographer who was shooting cosplayers who were just like talking with their friends and like from like further away, and I like tapped him on the shoulder.
Oh my god!
and was like,
creep.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, hey, like, go up to them and ask them to get your photo. To ask them for a photo. They will give you a better photo. This guy turns out this guy was a fucking creepy douche, but like some people just don't know. Some people just don't know. Like they don't know, and they'd be like, oh. Okay, and then they'll do that thing, and then they've learned, and it helps. Like if you know the etiquette, some people maybe it's their first con and they just don't know, and yeah, it's not great, but like if you tell them, it'll help. However, some people are just fucking creepy douches. Like this guy, like fucking snapped back at me and told me he was a professional photographer, and I was like, yeah, okay, dude,
okay,
fuck
get
right
right.
off. Yeah, no,
that's
this dude was like, I was just like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Doth protest too much.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, and I guess, Andrew, to bounce off that, as like a cosplayer and you see people like taking your photo, like don't be afraid to like snap back at them. Like I did that twice, I think last weekend at C2E2, where people are just like, Rachel and I are just there talking, like not even like on a break, but we were just standing there and people like this one guy was just like taking photos of us. I turned to him and I'm just like, you should be asking permission to take photos first off. And then he's like, oh, okay, and then just like scurried away. And then another guy did it, and his wife came up. He was just like, oh, well, it's his first time. Like, well, it's proper etiquette to just not take photos of strangers.
Dude, if you've ever seen Stephanie do it, it's hilarious because she
Yeah.
goes full.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine doing that.
She goes full teacher on him, and it's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
It's great because, like, yeah, you don't think of that side with her very often, but she's got that like angry teacher like mode, and it's hilarious. Like, die laughing every time.
Wait, I want to talk about an uncomfortable situation that I was in as a coworker.
Okay, go ahead, and then I have another one to build off this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so this was at Katsucon. It was like the end of the weekend, and this photographer asked if he could work with me. And usually, when I'm uncomfortable, I can come up with like an excuse as to why I can't. But for some reason, I was so brain dead that I just couldn't even think of any. I couldn't even like be like, I need to go to the bathroom. Like that's how brain dead I was. But I didn't want to say no because I don't know. I just the way that he approached me was like very weird, and so I legit grabbed a friend that was like, I wasn't even hanging out with them. I just saw them within the vicinity, and I was like, "Can you come with me? I feel really uncomfortable." And I said that. I straight up was like, "I feel uncomfortable right now. Can you come with me?" And I don't know how to like really get out of this situation. And so he came with me, and it was fine. Like everything was fine, but I just want to make it clear that if you ever feel uncomfortable, like don't be afraid to say that. I mean, my situation was kind of weird because I was just so tired, and I could have avoided it, but that was an instance where I just wasn't thinking really. And I expressed to my friend, I was like, "This is not a situation I want to be in. You need to come with me," and I made it very urgent. I was like, "You need to come with me." Basically, like I don't care what you're doing right now. You're coming with me.
Yeah.
I have been very blessed in that I've been able to be with other men at cons all the time, like friends that are male. And I have found that that's really reduced the number of, I guess, uncomfortable situations that I've been in. And it's true, like there's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
And the sad reality is that a lot of uncomfortable people in these very populated areas will not approach you if they feel intimidated by the other people that you are with. So my recommendation too is just like have people with you, or at least be in a crowd.
And that's the thing. I was by myself. Like I was kind of like on my phone. Yeah. So I was kind of just I just was like, I need to like zone out and like not interact with anyone because I get very introverted at cons sometimes. So I kind of was like just hanging by myself, which is rare because I'm very rarely by myself at a con because I don't like being by myself. But this guy just found this opportunity to just I was like, fuck.
Yeah. I was at are we telling stories? Can I tell a story?
Go for it.
Do it.
I was at MagFest and we were in the arcade at like 3 a.m. as you were at MagFest, you know, like getting our drink on. But I was fairly inebriated and I was playing Dance Dance Revolution and I was having like the time of my life. I actually was doing really well, even though I was anyway,
humble brag.
I just want you to know that like drunk me powers up and I play DDR like nobody's business.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But I was not with my boyfriend and our other friends who are also male because they were playing arcade games, and they don't necessarily need to babysit me while I'm playing DDR. I'm a grown up. But I had a guy approach me, and and you always know, like, this question when it leads into anything. His first question was, "Hey, I have a question. Like, you having fun playing DDR?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "All right. How old are you?" And I was like,
Oh, what?
Nope.
No.
And so my other friend, she was with us, and she goes, because she was also drinking, and the guy was wearing a Pikachu Kigurumi. And whatever, I don't know why it reminded her of a
Red
chicken,
alert.
but she like shouts at him like, "She's an old person, chicken man," and like, and he goes, "I'm not a chicken," and got all offended.
Oh my
Everyone needs to
god.
God bless.
Ever since, whenever we're approached by anyone that does something like that, in our head, like when they leave, we're just like, "That was a chicken man." Anyway, that's it. That's the end of my story.
Amazed.
So, kind of to build off of a bit of earlier one, which is, man, I'm probably going to butcher this username, Squid Ulysses? Maybe?
That is
said-
like Greek mythology mixed with
Ooh.
sea creature. I love it.
asks, kind of building off of this, is how do you feel about candid photos? And I've got a very strong feeling.
There's a difference between creepy, like zooming in, trying to get solo someone, versus what I like to call like photo, like journalism.
Yeah.
I think
there's a difference.
I think it's pretty clear. Like if you're taking a candid photo when a cosplayer is kind of like on the floor, like kind of trying to be that character, then that makes sense. But if that person is like eating food or talking to their friends, like, no, it's not. Honestly, I would say the rule of thumb for me is candid photos are great if you know the person you're taking the candid photo of. If you don't know the person you're taking the candid photo of, maybe not.
I don't know.
It's
I think
hard.
it's different because, like Sarah said, there's a difference between like creepy photo and then like coverage and journalism aspect of it. Because, like, I think it more has to do with the person, like you said, Andrew, being more like on a break or engaged in their group versus like actively partaking in something at the convention. So like if it's a candid photo of people playing DDR, like I think that's kind of cool because it's covering like, oh, there's DDR machines that people are enjoying.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, look there's a DJ, like at C2T, there's a DJ and there's cosplayers dancing in front of the DJ. They're actively partaking in the events of the convention.
I think I've taken those photos too.
But like when people are obviously like on some sort of break or like not posed or not
like trying to be
doing
private.
More trying to be private. Like it's a no.
Okay, like I'm sitting on the floor and I have taken my Midna helmet, which by the way is my ultra goblin state. It's my ultra goblin state. I have no helm. I have just a black wig cap on and like this fake thing. I'm like, like, and there was a guy sniping pics of me. I was like, hey man, if you want those pictures, like, I don't know what to say to that. But that's not good candid. I look like scary.
Great.
Yeah, not great. That's just creepy.
Oh my god, that's kind of funny though.
It is pretty funny. I laughed.
I was like, okay, dude. I hope that answered your
Squid Ulysses also asked a question earlier, quite a while ago now, because we went down the rabbit hole on some of those questions, which was for everyone. Do you like to be told how to pose, or do you want to do your own poses in a shoot?
I think that depends on how experienced the cosplay. I suck at posing, so I would rather have a photographer tell me to pose if they know what flattering angles are. Because I've definitely been told how to pose, but then I look at the photo. Well, then I look at the photo and I'm like, I look fucking terrible in this. Like, what made you think that this was a good idea? No offense, but it's kind of like, if you're gonna tell someone how to pose, at least have like a basic understanding of like how the body works and like what are flattering poses and what aren't. But I know most of the time I prefer being told how to.
Yeah,
I gotta pee.
okay.
I would say,
Bye, Sarah.
like, I personally really like photographers that give me direction. I always come to shoot with like two poses, like the standard like one that you give to everybody, and then like if they're like, okay, another pose and I can do something else, right? But I love it when a photographer like has an idea in mind and other they can be like, oh, you have this cool prop. What if we do this really quick with it? And just more direction like that, where other people are just like, oh, I just want a photo. So I like direction. I like being told like, oh, look this way, look that way, eyes like that.
So
Yes.
I've never really been in the situation where I need to do much posing. So what I would say is from the photographer side of things, I like it when a cosplayer comes like prepared with a handful of poses. That really helps. Not even necessarily because we will end up using that pose, because like in my brain I've got a collection of like maybe like 20 poses that I go through, and like when I don't have an idea I fall back on those, and oftentimes the pose that a cosplayer is bringing is different from the pose that I would do. So like there can be a melding of those two ideas. Like if you have something it maybe isn't what we're going to end up doing, and we can adjust it from there. But just if you have like several poses, it helps so much in the creative process, because like then the cosplay photographer isn't being relied on for like every aspect of the shot. Like we can worry like more about, okay, how we're going to figure out like the composition of this shot, the lighting of this shot, and this, and then not have to worry quite as much about the posing. It can help a lot. That said, I totally understand wanting to.
I like to have a few poses in my back pocket, like I think you guys all said. And I also really like having with my cosplay, my character, not just the photographer, because I have found some of the best posing advice has come from like having my boyfriend just kind of like, your boot cover is falling down or something, or something, or like maybe my wig. I remember my wig strap of my hat, and he like quickly walked up and like fixed that stuff for me in ways that maybe a photographer wouldn't have felt comfortable
Having
doing.
a spotter is always amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, thank you for fixing that, because
I always miss shit.
Couldn't feel it, and the photographer probably wouldn't have wanted to touch me. So
just to be clear, just so we have this out here, it's a good opportunity to say it. As a photographer, always ask permission before you touch a cosplayer.
Please.
It does not matter. I had a weird...
I even ask permission with people I've worked for. I'd be like, hey, can I adjust your wig? It's like falling back.
Yeah.
Can I gently lift your chin? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not sensual, I promise.
Can I caress your chin, please?
Yes.
Please ask. Don't be a fucking creep.
Yeah, and it's not even that you mean to be creepy at all about it. It just helps remove it. It's like, oh, hey, I understand that like you might not want to be touched.
We're about to get very intimate.
And it helps to just be like, hey, I want to fix this. I understand. If you want to do it and you don't want me to do it, that's fine. It just is like a nice layer of understanding and comfortability. So just do that.
Back to the whole etiquette thing.
Yeah.
Like etiquette as a photographer, don't touch someone without permission. Like that's a fucking no-brainer. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, why am I even saying this?
Yeah, I know it seems so
But
freaking.
Have to go off.
It feels
Why
so
do I have
freaking
to?
obvious, but you know, sometimes you have
so
to.
Fucking dumb sometimes. Whatever.
Yeah. It was funny because like. Because cosplay photography is sometimes like the most awkward thing in the world. I had to help the cosplayer I was working with this weekend. She was doing Judy Hopps, and her tail wouldn't fully snap on, and she couldn't get it by herself. So I had to help her with that, which was mildly awkward. But she asked, and I was fine with it. But then even then, after that experience, I wanted to adjust her hair and asked beforehand, because just because one thing was okay doesn't mean another thing is okay. So
you just never know.
Yeah, just always ask.
Assume you know nothing.
Yeah.
You know nothing about this.
it's easy to assume I know nothing because I don't. Yeah. Let's see. There was one more question that I had, which was a pretty simple one, which is from Vash204. He asked earlier, what do you think a good lens is to use with crop sensor cameras? And I think that's
This is an Andrew question. I can't help you.
Yeah, I figured I'd just address this one real quick, because I don't think it needs to necessarily go on so long. But I think the biggest thing is it depends how much money you want to spend. Depends what you're shooting, and it depends kind of where your level of photography is at. That said, I pretty much recommend everyone who's new to photography and wants to shoot cosplay photography, get a 50 millimeter 1.8. Like,
Yes.
it's such a great lens. It's so inexpensive. It's really hard to like get it and not be happy that you bought that lens, and you'll be able to learn a lot. And it's really close to it's really close to what a lot of photographers are using. That's like 10 times as expensive as it. So that would be my recommendation for pretty much every person that's newer getting into cosplay photography.
I was using the 51.8 for Canon for fucking years. I just bought the upgrade to that a year ago. Not even a year ago. So it's great.
Okay, that ran out of our pool of questions. And actually it's probably a good time for us to wrap up, because I was planning on going an hour on that segment, and we pretty much have. So I'd say thank you guys so much for participating in this inaugural stream, and special thanks to you, everyone who asked questions. We've got a ton of great questions this time around. We have a huge list of questions, and it was kind of interesting. I didn't know how deep we dig into all of these. I had initially planned for us to have 4 questions in that first period, and we only did 2, which is kind of crazy. Like, I had no idea of how this would go. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did. I want to give a huge thank you to Aara Lee and Oki-cospi for being on this stream, kind of, especially because we didn't really know how it was gonna go, and there was a little bit more kind of figuring out of things. You guys were awesome. It was great having you on. Aara, this was your first time streaming, which is even crazier.
This is my first time on camera on stream.
You were a total natural. There was nothing. No one would have ever guessed it.
Yeah.
I'm glad people enjoyed Sam Saturn. Thank you for that follow. Hell yeah.
I didn't see her pop up on here at all.
Oh, it's just in my activity feed. I just got the follow note. I got.
It's crazy too. I could have talked more about just those 2.
Yeah, we could have gone further on those, but I was like, okay, we need to cut it off at some point.
Nah.
And
just write a book on cosplay life work balance.
I know, right? Oh my god, I could have gone on for the next.
Yeah, no, we could have gone on for way too long. Smash Mouth. Thank you so much for the $10 donation. Hell yeah, thank you.
Yay, thank you.
I guess that puts it at a good place. If you enjoyed the stream and you want to see this thing continue, donations are greatly appreciated. They're not expected by any means, but they do help. And also, if you can't help in a donation way, subscriptions are also appreciated. So if you have a subscription, if you have the ability to give a subscription, that's awesome. If you have Amazon Prime, what are we even laughing about?
I don't know why they're laughing.
I don't know either.
I'm sorry, but like, tag yourself. I'm Astral Psychic.
Oh my god. Are we going in the map of ascension of consciousness? Well then, that's certainly a post.
On Mondays, I'm supracosmic void.
I'm gonna
This is
pretend
freaking
like I
awesome.
understand that at all.
Same.
Sorry, I had like a very too.
Oh my
noticed.
Guys, fucking me up in the middle of my goddamn spiel. The hell?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we need donation to keep on the words of the very important words from Smash Mouth, so I could keep on reading that. But no, what I was going to say is if you have Amazon Prime, that means you also have Twitch Prime, which means you have one free sub per month. So if you have that, why not consider giving it here? I'd greatly appreciate it.
I subbed to Andrew with my dad's Amazon Prime account.
Hell yeah. Use your parents' Amazon Prime accounts. Freaking do
I
it.
was like, hey, Dad, you don't have a on Twitch? And he's like, oh, what? I'm like, okay, I got this.
Amazing.
Oh my god, I should sub to myself using my parents. Oh my god, I need to do that.
Because we're all paying for it anyway.
Yeah, I just realized,
Exactly.
I'm like, my parents have Amazon Prime. I guess it's time for my parents to
Whoa.
subscribe to me. Hell yeah. I've never thought about that. That's freaking hilarious. Point being is subs are greatly appreciated, and they help help this stream continue chugging along. Speaking of chugging along, the next critique.
We're having a drinking night? Is that what that was?
Whoa.
Was that segue?
Whoa. Yeah, sure. That's where this is going.
Chug, chug.
No, that's not where I meant. Next critique is next week, April 4th. So that's Thursday, 1 week from today. I do not know who the guest will be on it yet. Possibly someone that would be really exciting to have on. We don't know yet. We're still figuring things out. If it's that person, it'll be real awesome, but I don't know if it will be. So, but either way, it's happening next week on Thursday, April 4th at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, I want to thank the audience again for participating. Chat, you were super lit tonight. It was awesome. It was like
great chat.
really hard to like follow along with it sometimes, which is freaking great. And yeah, I think that's all I got for tonight. Thank you guys again for being on with me. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Aara. Thank you, Allison. Where can people? That's what I forgot to do. Socials. Where can people find your work, Aara?
Oh, it's AARALEE, pretty much across all social media, except, there's some weird punctuation sometimes. Like Instagram has a dot and Twitter has an underscore. I'm just kidding.
I posted in chat. I've given up.
There. Okay, that's Instagram. That's the one I use.
All right. And Oki-cospi, how about yourself? Where can people find you?
You can find my work at Allison on Instagram and Twitter.
Allison.
Yeah, it's like too many letters. Just type Ellie and then press O until she pops up. Just keep on hitting O.
Basically, it'll come up eventually.
Yeah. Sarah, you where can people find you?
Here's my Instagram.
And then you can follow and then you can follow me on Facebook as Vontography and on Instagram at Vontog. And of course on Twitch at Vontography. If you didn't know that, that would be weird at this point, but whatever. Just want to say, do you guys have any cons coming up that people maybe could see you at? My next
YetiCon.
YetiCon? That's a while out. I really want to go to YetiCon.
That's far away, isn't it?
Yeah.
My next con will be Anime Central in May in Chicago-ish area. Allison?
ASEN. I don't even know if I'm actually going. I'll be there one day at least.
You're going.
I'm going. I don't have any room anything figured out, but I'm making a costume for it, so I'll be there one of the days.
I'm trying to
And-
swing Anime Boston, but not sure yet.
And Sarah?
Ooh, next con is anime in California.
Ooh.
Oh, but another really big exciting one that everyone can come to is Cosplay America because Jin
What
is
is-
going to be there.
What is that? I keep hearing
I
people
keep
say-
on hearing things and I'm like,
matters.
I've never
I
heard
keep
of it.
saying, I keep hearing Cosplay America. I'm like, Cosplay in America?
So Cosplay in America is the guy who makes the book. That's Egypt.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Cosplay
Whoa.
America is a con, and it specifically focuses on the craft of cosplay. It's only 3 years old, I think, so it's relatively new. Cowboy Crunchies has been a guest, I feel like, for the past 2 years. Reika was there 1 year. Other people I don't freaking know are there. But Jin's gonna be there. I love Jin. And
We have had Jin on as a guest as for Cosplay Critique.
Behind
Well, they're
Infinity
awesome.
for people who don't know what the fuck I'm talking
Yeah.
about. If you don't follow Jin, that's fake anyway.
Where is that con? So people know.
North Carolina
And-
near
Oh.
Durham, I think.
Okay,
Because
well,
a friend who lives in Durham said that it was
when is it?
Oh,
Two.
Ju-
That helps.
July.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Beginning of July. It's like the first weekend in July. I'm so excited. I'm gonna die.
Okay, that's that. I meant to do that earlier before I went to the full wrap up spiel, but you know what? Oh well. Some things are out of order. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry. I try to be perfect, but I can't be. Okay, I think that wraps up the stream for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being on with us. We
This was
appreciate
fun.
it. It was a hell of a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
can't wait to do another one of these. It was a ton of fun. I don't know
More,
when
more,
the
more.
next one will be, but this will be happening again. Absolutely.
Yeah, these are a lot easier to put together.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot less prep work I need to do.
And
Yeah.
we still have a huge list of questions.
Yeah,
We
and
do. Like
yeah.
literally a laundry list.
Yeah, and if there's things you'd like to see us do on the stream in the future, just let me know because I'm open to new ideas. But with that, it's time to wrap this up. Thank you guys again, and as always, think about what you put out into the world, make it a better place. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.